So how did I go from this young, aspiring aviator with a passion for aviation to a full-blown private pilot with an even bigger passion for aviation? Stick around to find out. Welcome to the Nishan the Pilot channel.
My final form, and it's not even my prime stop.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Nishan the Pilot, back with another video, formerly known as J&G Aviation on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. It's been a while. Let's catch up. Long story short, about 2 years ago, I took a short hiatus from the YouTube scene to focus on more prevalent and pressing things. Making those videos was fun, but I think after a certain point, it just got out of control. I was doing all that, working full-time and then going to school part-time, and then where I was making the videos, it was just taken away from me actually progressing with my flight training. It was already hard enough being a student pilot. I had to make the sacrifice. The reason for the rebrand is I've always wanted to start up a secondary channel, just focusing on my life, kind of going from zero to hero to the airlines, but it just made more sense to rebrand who I currently was. I mean, at this point, I really don't care what you call me. You guys know me. This is the rebirth of not just the channel, but also myself. So, welcome to the Nishan the Pilot channel. The primary focus going forward on this channel will be my journey from zero to hero. So, let's get you guys caught up. All right, folks. Man, this thing is, I think it's time to get this thing digitalized. My first flight was May 10th, 2018 in a Cessna 172 Lima model. Wow. Intro, PF, takeoffs, cruise, landing, G.
I don't know who this man is. Sorry to this man.
I don't know what that means. I still remember going up, I had a high top fade. I had the Gumby going on, you know what I'm saying? I still had a student pilot certificate, which actually I have up on my wall right here, as you can see. I remember that first feeling of cranking up the airplane, and I was like, you know, extremely excited about it. It was so absolutely awesome. So I worked at DFW Airport for about 2 years. I was a ramper. I think I saw every type of airplane that there was to see. So that really kept my passion going. That was really an exhilarating experience. If I had to do it all over again, I would. I most definitely would. I think it would absolutely be worth it. In retrospect though, knowing what I know now versus back then, I think I could have given myself some serious pointers on how to succeed, because there's no way that this should have taken me 5 years. So 2 years fresh out of high school, and I'm looking for any way possible to turn this pure passion and fire for aviation into a reality. So I do what any inexperienced person would do. I hop on Google, I look for any sort of flight school that was absolutely the cheapest. I'm not saying that the school was bad.
Nobody's saying they don't appreciate what Jenny did.
I'm just sharing my own personal experience. My experience will not be your experience, and your experience will not be my experience. I did a lot of ground school and not very much flying. Due to my lack of experience and research, I didn't really know what to expect. The only thing I can truly say is that I was not happy with my overall experience there. Shortly after that, I transferred to another school. Got a lot of my flight hours through a Cessna 150, which was an amazing experience. Getting oriented with the flight controls and all that good stuff. Pretty much how to take off and land, just learning the fundamentals. I still remember my first landing. That was cool. So I did my solo just under 20 flight hours. And I ain't gonna lie to you folks, this was, that solo, I was nervous, but I was absolutely ready.
I love your confidence.
I just took the bull by the horns and just started.
Go stupid!
Solo flight is basically where you go up in the pattern. It's just a rectangular pattern. Upwind, crosswind, downwind, base, and final. And then you land. And then you do it again. When you want it by yourself, man, that plane feels totally different. It's just you, the airplane, the fuel. I was at the point where I was begging my instructor to let me go. I was like,
Stop! Please let me go! I'm doing something!
Being up there by yourself, man, that was a totally different feeling. I mean, absolutely diabolical. That airplane gets right off the ground. You don't have a big juicy instructor sitting there with you, touching shoulder to shoulder in a 150, you know what I mean? One time there was a student getting into a Cessna 150. There was a big juicy instructor. He was about 6'5" and 300 something pounds. It was a big hefty brother, but he got in that plane got off the ground. I know they were pushing that envelope. That pattern solo was absolutely the best thing I've ever done. It was the most thrilling experience I have ever had in my flying career. Actually, I still got my solo shirt right up here. That was fun, and I was definitely well prepared by my instructor at the time. Shortly after that, I completed my night cross country. I pulled out the regs. So it says 3 hours of night flight training in a single engine airplane, 1 cross country flight of over 100 nautical miles total distance, and 10 takeoffs and landings to a full stop, with each landing involving a flight in the traffic pattern at an airport. For my night cross country, we went from Fort Worth Spinks over to McKinney. We got flight following. That was pretty awesome. That landing into McKinney though, let's just say it was a night to remember. And then coming back, we got vectored over DFW again at 5,500. I think 5,500 at the time was the highest I'd ever been, and I was, wow. I ain't gonna lie to you folks, my radio calls throughout my young training, they was on the struggle bus. The Spinks Tower, no, ground, I'm on ground. Like I always had to take a deep breath before, you know, I should have been more equipped on that. I was doing the best I could, working full time and training part time. And then shortly after that, I transferred over to a Cessna 172, which is now what I fly on a regular basis. Cessna 172 is just a bigger Cessna 150, basically. If you really think about it, everything is a Cessna. C5 Galaxy, Cessna. A380, big Cessna. After completing my nighttime training, I started working on my cross countries so I could be prepared to do my cross country solos. I had to have 2 of them. I had to have the one that's 50 nautical more than 50 nautical miles. And so my first solo cross country was from Fort Worth Spinks over to Possum Kingdom Lake, then back to Fort Worth Spinks, and then my second one I think I did a couple of days later was from Fort Worth Spinks over to Possum Kingdom Lake, down to Stephenville. They got some really good barbecue, and then back to Spinks. That was pretty much it for that cross country prep. That was really a fun time in my life. I mean, wow. I also had a lot of personal things going on in my life at the time. It was just a lot going on that hindered my training. Well, shortly after that, I began doing check ride prep. Check ride prep is where you do the entire flight profile. It takes you from all your performance takeoffs, short field, soft field, all the way through your ground reference maneuvers, turns around a point, S turns, all the way through your actual maneuvers, your steep turns, your stalls, power on and off, your slow flight, and of course you got your performance landings. But I ain't gonna lie to you, I felt like I was not moving in the way that I should be moving. I transferred to a different school, and 12 hours later, I completed my check ride December 13th, 2023, and that was great. I accomplished it. Took my check ride at around 108, 110 hours. It was like a dream come true. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. I could believe it because I studied, but like, nah, I was hyped. I was absolutely hyped. That was like 5 years of hard work, dedication, and growth. The realest thing I can tell y'all is it really doesn't matter how long the journey takes, as long as you are willing to never give up. You gotta have tenacity in this. That 5 years of hard work really paid off, and I'm so proud of myself. Good job, self. Here is my pilot's license right here. Let's say I had a time machine, right, and I could go back in time and absolutely change the way I did my flight training. Oh, you know I would. Put y'all on game real quick. So, here's what I would do differently. Number one, I would have done my research up front. I would have known exactly what I was getting into, exactly how much I'd be paying, and exactly how much work was needed to get through. You feel me? I would have shopped around for different flight schools. You got 3 options. You got Part 141, Accelerated, which is like a flight school program connected to like a collegiate program. You got Part 61, which is your mom and pop school, pay as you go. You have your Part 61 Accelerated, which is like ATP. For 2, I would talk to students, CFIs, and pilots who are exactly where I want to be and have the lifestyle that I want to live. I'd pick their brain and, you know, see how their experience with, what's their story. Number 3, I would get a pilot mentor. Get a pilot mentor. Find a mentor that has about 400 flight hours minimum. Oh, and there's actually a really good book. I haven't read it yet, but I heard it's really good. It's called The Killing Zone by Paul A. Craig. I'm going to definitely invest in that book. There's a range in which pilots are likely to commit lethal mistakes, and that's about 40 to 250 flight hours. Definitely pick up that book. I'm not getting sponsored to say that. Please sponsor me. I heard a lot about that book. I got a couple of friends who know the guy who actually wrote the book. I think it would be a good investment. So when you're shopping around for flight schools, make sure you have at least 3 flight schools that you would consider. Next, you want to go take a discovery flight at your school of choice. Once you get that discovery flight knocked out, that's going to tell you if you are ready for this, absolutely, or if you're like, I don't really know if I like flying yet. But I guarantee you, and it's going to do one or two things. It's going to either be a go or no go. You feel me? Make sure that they have some form of syllabus that they train their students with. If there's no syllabus,
definitely a no for me, dog.
I wouldn't do it. Make sure you get your total cost estimate of the program. Just because it's an estimate does not mean it's 100% guaranteed, but at least you'll be on some kind of track and you'll kind of know, okay, so this will be roughly what I'm paying for flight training. Next, you want to get a loan. Well, I know how some people may feel about loans. Some people may not be in a position to get a loan, but I'm gonna tell you right now, the reason I say that is because it took me 5 years working full time, paying out of pocket. It's not worth it. Don't do it. If I were you, I would plan on spending a minimum of $60,000 and a maximum of about 130. If a school cannot give you an estimate, if they're kind of dancing around prices, I have talked to certain flight school owners, which I will not name here. You can feel the runaround. You can feel it. I don't know. You can feel it. Once your school of choice checks out, it's time to go and get a medical certificate from your AME, your Aeromedical Medical Examiner. That doesn't sound right. Scratch that. Okay, now if you're going accelerated, you're going to want a first class medical. If you're going part 61 mom and pop, you're going to want a third class medical. I'm going to let you guys do your own research on that one. I'm glad I got a first class medical. That lets me know that I'm healthy enough to pass a first class medical, but at the same time, what benefit did it really give me? After your flight school checks out and you went and got your medical certificate, you want to get an online ground school. This will save you a ton of time and money. There's several ground schools out there that you guys can use. You can use Sporties, you can use King Schools, and you can use Gold Seal. All 3 of them are great, and I highly recommend all 3 of those. I'm not quite sure if Sporties gives you an endorsement for your FAA knowledge exam, but I know King's does. So pick your poison. Understand that all of your books are free. All of your knowledge books are free. There is a digital version of the FAR-AIM that is literally online on the App Store that you can buy for $9.99. The only thing that you're going to need a physical copy of is the FAR-AIM and maybe, just maybe, the PHAC. Maybe. Don't waste your money. A lot of flight schools will try to sell you merch and stuff like that specific to that flight school. Don't do it. You can literally go on Amazon. Buy yourself a military grade satchel that's big enough to carry whatever. Probably run you 80 bucks. Has a shoulder strap and everything. It's good. It's good. Or go to Walmart. If you can't afford 80 bucks, go to Walmart. Buy yourself a heavy duty travel backpack that will actually give you the space that you actually need and that can house all of your resources. As far as the paper sectional goes, you might need it for your private pilot check ride. You might not, depending on where you go. I went to a school that was pretty much in the Stone Age. Unfortunately, they did not believe in letting students use the aid that technology provides, which I understand on one side. You don't want to get too dependent upon the technology because if the grid crashes, worst case scenario, chances are if you don't know how to navigate, you're probably not going to be able to navigate. But that is worst case scenario. Technology does fail. That's the reality. However, I say use both. I use ForeFlight. And I don't let anybody tell me different at this point. And thankfully, I never have to use one of these again. I highly recommend that you use flight simulation. If you have access to a desktop flight simulator, whatever, anything that will help you the basics of understanding aerodynamics and putting 2 and 2 together, do it, do it, do it, do it. Let me tell you. Let me tell you something! I personally use X-Plane 11 and 12, more so 12 nowadays. Some people may say, hey, yeah, it's not a good idea. Don't fly on the flight simulators much at all while you're in your private training. I disagree. I strongly disagree. The reason why is because, as you guys understand, I probably paid about 20,000 bucks cash out of pocket for my private pilot's license. By the way, do not recommend at all. I worked full time, there were times where I
would have been swallowed up. Have you ever been swallowed?
where I could not go and fly. And the only thing that I could do to keep my knowledge and skills applied was use flight simulation. Use it. It's a tool, it's there, use it. One thing I will say watch out for is that flight simulation does not function like the real thing. It does not warrant the same reaction as flying in a motion sim or flying in the real airplane would. So many flight instructors out there would say, yeah, I don't recommend using flight simulator for private, don't use it. But then again, during those times where I would go 6 weeks without flying and then come right back to it like nothing happened, they were like, wow, son, you don't fly like a guy who hasn't flown in 6 weeks. Yeah, that's crazy, huh? This is a 2018 Far Aim. That was 6 years ago. This is a 2023 Far Aim. Tabbed it all out, made it look pretty. This was very, very helpful on my check ride. And lastly, one of the biggest keys to success is show up prepared to your flight lesson, plus the next 2 or 3 topics. And that is why I say it's important to have a syllabus. Don't just let the flight instructor guide the lesson. If I had applied all this game that I'm spending you guys right now, I truly believe that I would have been way ahead. I'd have been done had my private. That's that Texas talk. What you know about that? Yeehaw, you feel me? That's pretty much it for me for this video. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I appreciate you for watching. My name is Nishan the Pilot, and welcome to the 1500 gang. Let's get it.